Okay, Matthew, I have some unfortunate news. You have a warrant out of Florida. Are you aware of that?
No.
The son of an elementary school principal is charged with possessing child pornography, and now his mom has been placed on leave from her job.
Am I saying that they brought this on? I can't say that they didn't or they did. I'm saying what happened to them was not appropriate.
I'll explain that video of Matt McChesney's mom and tell you why she's now in hot water at work. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. I'm just going to tell you up front, there is a lot going on with this case, and none of it is good. It's really disturbing. And frankly, it's kind of insane when you drill down into the details. So let's start at the very, very beginning. Matthew McChesney, he's 18 and just graduated from Gulf Breeze High School in Milton, Florida. That's in Santa Rosa County in the Panhandle. Last January, the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office started investigating McChesney. Detectives say they found a user on the social media messaging platform Discord. The user was named Literal Loaf of Bread, and detectives said there were 3 uploads. One of those uploads, according to detectives, showed 2 girls between the ages of 7 and 9 who were engaged in a sex act. It's absolutely disgusting. Detectives wrote, the IP address is listed to belong to Extreme in the Gulf Breeze region. The phone number is listed to belong to Verizon to a M. Kimberly from the Pensacola area. Now, that name Kimberly is the name of Matt McChesney's mother, Kimberly McChesney, the assistant principal at Gulf Breeze Elementary School. But back to the Discord account. Sheriff's detectives wrote that the user received a message from Redmere Caddy #0 asking, "Are you here for the stuff?" This user states, yeah, but wanted a preview before he paid for anything. This user also offered to trade 1 for 1 until he obtains more content to trade. Now, detectives said there was also discussion about a site called Megalink, which is a known place where people trade child sex abuse material. Detectives said they tracked the Discord account back to the McChesney's home. So in early May, the detectives go to Gulf Breeze High School to talk to Matt McChesney. The detective wrote, Matthew stated the following. I informed him my investigation was in regards to Discord, and if he would be willing to share his account information, which he was, and pulled out his phone. He pulled up his current Discord account and stated this account name. He did lose access to an account, but could not remember when. I read off his phone number, email, and account name, which he confirmed all the information as his. I asked if he knew why his account was flagged, which he stated he believes it was because he was sharing pictures of young people. The people he shared and traded images with were unknown to him, and he never met anyone in person. He stated there is going to be child sex abuse material on his phone and desktop computer. Matthew's cell phone was seized at this time. Despite the alleged admission from Matt, parents at his mother's elementary school say she allowed her son to visit the school for a walkthrough event. Kim McChesney is now on paid leave. In a statement, a spokesperson said, Santa Rosa County District Schools recently became aware of a July 2025 arrest involving a former student related to serious allegations. District administration is investigating the circumstances to determine what actions are necessary. The district will continue to cooperate fully with law enforcement and prioritize the safety and well-being of all students and staff. Due to the ongoing investigation, the district is unable to provide additional comment at this time. In regard to Mrs. McChesney, I can confirm she is on paid administrative leave pending investigation. So that happened just recently. And later on, I'm going to have more on Kim McChesney, so stay tuned for that. But for now, back to Matt. In late June, Matt was charged with several counts of possessing child pornography. On July 3rd, he was taken into custody in Washington State by Port Angeles police. He was on a trip with his family. Take a look.
Okay, Matthew, I have some unfortunate news. You have a warrant out of Florida. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. Well, you have a warrant out of Florida that has nationwide extradition, okay? So go ahead and stand up and face the wall. You're going to be placed under arrest. Tornadoes, 295 McChesney. So my partner's going to search you. Just make sure you don't have any weapons or anything like that on you, and we'll do our best to explain what's going on. Okay?
When you're ready to go, do you have anything on you that's gonna stick, stab, poke me, or anything I need to worry about? No. Okay. You go ahead and search it now.
Need a bag. And Matthew, just so you know, we have cameras running, okay?
Do you need to let somebody focus? If there's anything I need to worry about, that's fine.
Need a bag.
Yeah.
So Matthew, I have your passport and I'm gonna put it in this bag, okay? And I got a picture of it.
I cover a lot of really scary crime stories here on Crime Fix, and if it's taught me anything, it's that privacy and personal safety absolutely cannot be compromised, especially when it comes to your personal data online. You would be shocked at how much of your information, like your name, phone number, and even home address, is just floating around the internet for data brokers to find and sell. Do you ever wonder why you get so many of those annoying spam calls and emails? Well, that's why our sponsor, Incogni, is a crucial tool that helps you take back control by automatically identifying which data brokers have your info and then demanding they remove it. Incogni actually found 50 brokers with my information, and within days, they started getting me removed. It's so easy to use. Just create an account, authorize Incogni to act on your behalf, and let them handle the rest. And now Incogni users can wipe their info from an even wider range of websites with the unlimited plan's new custom removals feature. All you need to do is copy and paste the link to sites where you've noticed concerning data breaches cropping up and creating issues in your life, and a team of privacy specialists will take care of the rest of it. The new Incogni Unlimited feature even allows users to customize their data removals and tackle the toughest of breaches with the help of a team of privacy specialists. So if you care about your online safety, and you should, take your personal data back with Incogni. Use the code CRIMEFIX below on the screen and get 60% off an annual plan. Court records show that Matt McChesney appeared in court and was allowed to travel home to Florida with the promise that he turned himself in once he got there. He did that on July 14th and posted a $115,000 bond. He was booked and released 30 minutes later. I spoke with Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Randy Tift about the investigation.
Yes, it is. It's a very disturbing case. We received the original tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It goes into our major crimes unit and gets assigned to an investigator to look at that tip that comes in and start an investigation once they review the information.
How long did that take?
Sometimes it is very time consuming, and the time consuming part of that is once we start the investigation, first that investigator has to determine, is there anything there for them to possibly get a hold of to prove that there was some type of violation in that incident, in this case. So the investigator did look at the tip, went to my age, actually 18 years old, went to Matthew and interviewed him, seized his cell phone. Then we did a search warrant. We seized a laptop, computer from his home. And then what happens at that point is all of those electronic devices goes to our forensics unit. And there's a lengthy process that has to be done legally for court purposes, that evidence is handled properly. So that has to go through the forensics process, and all of those images and anything that goes in there that's evidence in the case is captured in the correct way. So that takes time. It depends on how many images. It depends on how much activity there is, of how long that takes. This one took a little over 30 days to be pulling all of the data from that, upload everything that was in those devices, and then the investigator gets that information, reviews it, and determines at that point that there is a violation of law and that there are illegal images contained in those devices.
So they find these images on the phone. They get the search warrant for Discord, and they see all of these different communications. I mean, there's a lot. I'm not going to go through all of these, but they're very disturbing, and there are a lot of really pornographic images of children engaged in sex acts listed throughout this warrant. It's very, very disturbing. So what does this guy say? I mean, does he try to deny it, or what does he say to your investigators?
In the original interview, he admitted to the investigator there was going to be some things from Discord on his devices.
But not what you found.
Didn't go to the extent of what we found. What we found was horrendous. It's difficult to read, and it's even more difficult on these investigators that have to actually review all of this evidence and look at it. And they do an extraordinary job in a very difficult situation because, as you stated, just reading it, it's horrendous. Imagine having to look at all this evidence and build a case against somebody after you have to look at those type of images.
I also asked Chief Deputy Tift whether there were any concerns that Matt McChesney may have had access to children through his mother's school and whether the investigation into him is ongoing.
At this point in our investigation, no, we don't have any concerns with that. At this point, with what we have out of his electronic devices that were seized during our warrant, that's all we have at this point. As the state attorney's office continues to process this case and work with our investigator, if some other lead comes up or something else pops up, then of course we would continue investigation. But at this point, we're pretty much done on our part, and it's going over to the state attorney's office for the prosecution phase.
So right now, Matt McChesney is free on bail. Now back to his mother, Kim McChesney. She is the assistant principal at Gulf Breeze Elementary School, and she is on leave. But now a video of her being deposed in a civil case involving a substitute teacher who was accused of molesting 3 little girls who were students has surfaced and raised a lot of eyebrows. It's from several years ago. Take a look.
It certainly would never be your testimony that they encouraged this kind of conduct at that age.
I don't like the question. I don't mean to sound funny. You're asking me if I ask that again?
No, ma'am. It never would be your testimony in this case, for instance, that they somehow prompted this kind of behavior out of Mr. Mack.
I don't think what happened to them was appropriate, but I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Well, ma'am, you are answering it, and you are suggesting, I believe, that you would in part blame the girls for this?
Object to the form of the question.
I would not blame the girls.
Well, why can't you answer that question in a more definitive manner then? Because it sounds like you're suggesting that they contributed some part to this happening.
I'm going to object to the form of the question. You can answer if you know.
I don't know.
Attorney Joe Zarzar pressed Kim McChesney further about whether she believed the 9 and 10-year-old girls brought this on themselves.
The girls intentionally went up to his desk multiple times. You know, that happened. But were they doing this to get him to react? I can't say that they did or didn't.
So, ma'am, how old were these girls at the time? Do you know?
10 years old.
Okay. How does a 9-year-old girl walking up to a teacher's desk entice the teacher to touch them in their private parts and squeeze their ass? Excuse my French.
Object to the form.
Answer that question, please, ma'am. You're suggesting that they intentionally went up to his desk and that he would do something like that? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not comfortable answering that question because I wasn't there, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the question. You're asking me, what do I think the girls wanted to do or what they were looking to get out of this? And I can't answer that. I can only tell you what they told me. You're asking me an opinion. That's what I feel like you're asking me.
Richard Mack ended up serving time in prison for molesting the girls and was released in 2021. I spoke with Joe Zarzar about deposing Kim McChesney.
It was 3 plaintiffs. It was 3 9-year-old girls, right? And one substitute pervert teacher who decided he was going to touch these girls inappropriately. And he did so as, I think it was a substitute math teacher. And one day he decided to victimize 3 little girls. And so I sued the employer. And at the time, the school district was using a independent contractor, private company to get their substitute teachers from. And so I sued the private company that basically was supposed to vet the substitute teacher. And then I sued the school district. Okay. And I was basically alleging that both the company and the school district were negligent for allowing this pervert to be in the school. And as part of that case, I was deposing the people that knew something about this teacher. And she was one of the people. So during the deposition, I guess you've seen the clip, but during the deposition, I was asking her if, on behalf of the school, she had any complaints about what the girls were doing, thinking she would immediately dismiss that, right? And say, absolutely not. They're 9-year-old girls. Why would I ever think to blame them, right? Mm-hmm. And she did something very different than that. And I'm laughing now because it's so disgusting, but she basically blamed the girls and said they must have invited this and they must have prompted it and they must have egged it on in some way. And it's really not all the teacher's fault.
So you're sitting here during this deposition, and I'm assuming you are just like flabbergasted, because typically somebody who is working with children would not take that position because they're little girls.
Right. Like, you're either just an idiot and or you're involved in it, maybe. I guess there's a couple different ways you could look at this. You're either condoning the behavior and think it's okay, or you're a complete idiot, right? Or both, right? Because even if you think that the teacher perhaps is not all at fault for this, why would you verbalize that as an administrator at an elementary school? Because it seems to be you're disqualifying yourself from that position to take the position out loud that you think a 9-year-old can bring on that type of abuse. It's ridiculous. I thought when I heard that, I was like, this lady just announced her resignation. Because as soon as anybody hears this at the school district, they're going to be like, you have to leave, right? Mm-hmm. That did not happen. She's still there. And this is years ago. That happened in 2021. That's how crazy this school district is. Crazy.
So when you hear that her son, Kim McChesney's son, Matt McChesney, is charged with possessing child pornography, he apparently, according to the sheriff's offense report, the warrant for his arrest, obviously, they go to the school in May, the high school, and they question him. And according to the document, he admits to the detectives, yeah, you're going to find child sex abuse material on my phone. Yikes. And now she's under investigation because she apparently knew this and allowed him to attend an event at the elementary school, according to what we know. Your reaction?
sounds like the same person I deposed, doesn't it? I mean, it sounds like somebody that compartmentalizes these things or doesn't think they're that bad, perhaps. Maybe she's a sexual deviant. I have no idea. I don't know what to think about this woman. I do know that she doesn't have any, she has no business being in administration of any kind of school where there's kids involved. I can tell you that from just the deposition I took. Anybody that thinks a 9-year-old can prompt themselves to be abused by a pervert teacher it has no right to be in a school, much less in administration in that school.
How was that lawsuit in which you deposed Kim McChesney? How was that resolved?
Well, unfortunately, the shab of a company that PESG was, they went out of business because it was a horrible company. They had a horrible reputation in many states, not just Florida. And they ended up filing either bankruptcy and went out of business. And then they just came up as a different company name. They didn't have an insurance policy that covered these allegations, so they never contributed much of anything to this. I still think the case is open against them because they have yet to be able to come up with a dime to settle this case.
Well, it is very disturbing for sure, and the allegations being made against Matt McChesney, incredibly disturbing.
Well, and there's one more thing I want to add, and this is another thing that'll say something about the Santa Rosa County School District and this company. But during that case, the other thing that was alarming was this. I had asked for the personnel record pervert teacher, and I said, give me his personnel file. And they gave me his personnel file. And I started getting witnesses that were telling me that he had done similar type things at other schools. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute, I've got his personnel file and it doesn't say anything about a history of these problems at other schools in the district. And so then I started wondering, maybe they didn't give me everything. So I went back to the lawyer for the district and I was like, where is the other instances of bad conduct that are supposed to be in his personnel record? Oh, you didn't ask us for his disciplinary file. You only asked us for his personnel file. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? And so I got it. I got the disciplinary file, which is kept, I guess, in a secret location, in a separate file cabinet, different than the personnel files, in a different room. And so I get the disciplinary file, and this guy had been touching kids all over Santa Rosa County for years. And they were just moving them around from school to school to school. And they were, I guess, okay with it. And they were okay with the practice of hiding documents, right? It just seems backwards to me that you got a superintendent at the very top of this chain who is okay with all this. I would have cleaned house. I would have fired everybody. Everybody below me would have been terminated, including the person that said the disciplinary file is not part of the personnel record, right? You're fired. Get out. Why are they kept in a separate place? When the lawyer was asking for the records, you should have given him everything, not just one file from one room.
Yeah, it's very fishy. It should all be in the same record. Joe Zarzar, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Welcome. Thanks for doing this.
So just to recap, Matt McChesney is free on bail. He'll be back in court on August 21st for an arraignment, and Kim McChesney remains on paid administrative leave as the allegations against her, allowing her son to walk through the school, are investigated. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.